When the final whistle blows on a season, we celebrate the champions and debate the disappointments. But there's a darker story that rarely gets told. The human cost of football's relentless calendar. This is about bodies breaking down under the weight of expectation. About players who've given everything until there's nothing left to give. These are the 7 players who've paid the steepest price for being too good to rest. The weight of expectation can be measured in many ways.
Football's more than a game. It's passion, pride, glory. This World Cup season, Goal90 brings you our biggest offer yet. Buy 3 jerseys and get 1 free. That's 4 jerseys for the price of 3. And yes, free worldwide shipping. This is a limited time World Cup special only until April the 30th. So move fast. Pick your jerseys. Wear your passion. Own the moment before they're gone. Visit Goal90 Shop, link in the description.
But for Bukayo Saka, it's written in the treatment records at Arsenal's training ground. At just 24, he's already been the face of the club for years, the one they turn to when creativity runs dry, the one defenders target, kick after kick, game after game. This season has exposed what happens when that burden becomes unsustainable. A hamstring tear in December required surgery and kept him out for 3 months. But that was just the headline. The reality is far grimmer. 3 separate hamstring injuries before that surgery, each one a warning sign ignored. He's currently dealing with an Achilles problem that's kept him out since the Carabao Cup final, having missed 10 matchday squads already this campaign. Arteta himself has admitted it. Saka's workload over recent years has been intense, and when you reach this stage of competitions with that many games in your legs, niggling injuries are inevitable. 9 goals and 7 assists in 42 appearances tells the story of a player whose output has dipped not through lack of talent, but through accumulated fatigue. Chelsea's situation with Cole Palmer reads like a cautionary tale written in real time. Their attacking talisman, the player who made them tick since arriving from Manchester City, has spent much of this season fighting his own body. A persistent groin injury that wouldn't heal, treatment, recovery, relapse, the cycle that defines overuse. Palmer's admitted that at one point during his injury battles, he couldn't even shoot. Think about that. A professional footballer unable to perform the most fundamental action of his position. He missed 19 games across 2 separate spells, the second extended by a broken toe, because when your body's already compromised, everything becomes harder to manage. He's still managed solid output in games, but anyone watching Chelsea knows this isn't the Palmer who dazzled last season. His groin problem left him unable to operate at full strength for large portions of the campaign. With barely any rest after last summer's Club World Cup commitments, his body never got the reset it desperately needed. Now, with Thomas Tuchel weighing up his World Cup squad and attacking options plentiful, Palmer faces the very real possibility that accumulated injuries might cost him a spot on football's biggest stage. Next up is Raphinha, one of Barcelona's top scorers with 18 goals, a number that should tell a success story. But dig deeper and you find the reality. He's missed over 10 games this season through injury, the majority from recurring hamstring issues in the same right thigh. The latest setback came during a friendly against France, forcing him off at halftime, 5 weeks out. Missing the crucial Champions League game against Atletico, missing potentially season-defining clashes that Barcelona desperately needed him for. Hansi Flick's words cut to the heart of it. Raphinha is the one who puts pressure on opponents, the one who never lets teammates rest, perhaps the one who never lets himself rest either. Joan Laporta's fury at FIFA's congested calendar was palpable, but the damage was already done. It's his 3rd hamstring injury of the campaign in the same area, the kind of pattern that suggests a body pushed beyond its limits. At 29 and having become as vital to Barcelona as Lamine Yamal over the past 2 seasons, the burden of expectation has exacted a physical toll that statistics alone can't capture. Declan Rice arrived at Arsenal as the club's record signing with a reputation for indestructibility, the midfielder who never got injured and played every game, but even iron can bend under enough pressure. This season has seen Rice's performances plateau in a way that suggests exhaustion more than decline. 4 goals and 5 assists across 31 appearances represents respectable output, but those who watch Arsenal closely will tell you something's different. The dynamism has dulled. The box-to-box bursts have shortened. He was recently absent from training, another minor setback in a season of accumulated strain. When you've played at this intensity for years, Arsenal's demands are relentless, England's are uncompromising, the body keeps score. Rice won Arsenal's Player of the Season award last campaign for performances that included those stunning free kicks against Real Madrid, but excellence creates its own prison. He became undroppable, which meant he became unrestable, which meant eventually he became vulnerable. Hugo Ekitike's story might be the cruelest of them all. Liverpool's £79 million signing was meant to be the missing piece. When Isak suffered a broken leg in December, the spotlight swung entirely onto the young Frenchman's shoulders, and for a while he carried it. 15 goals across all competitions despite a season where even established stars struggled. But football has a way of punishing those who burn too bright. Against PSG recently, Ekitike's body finally said enough. Just 22 minutes into the match at Anfield, he collapsed to the turf with nobody near him. The diagnosis confirmed Liverpool's worst fears, a ruptured Achilles tendon, 9 months minimum on the sidelines, his World Cup dream gone. His season finished. Didier Deschamps called it a huge blow for France, and you could hear the devastation in his voice. This wasn't just an injury, it was the culmination of too much pressure applied too quickly to shoulders perhaps not quite ready to bear it. Erling Haaland's situation reveals something uncomfortable. The Norwegian robot, we joke. But robots don't have cold spells, don't disappear in big games, don't touch the ball just 10 times in a Champions League match. Yet that's exactly what happened when City faced Real Madrid at the Bernabeu. 0 shots, 10 touches in 82 minutes. The second time in his entire Champions League career, he's failed to record a single attempt on goal. Manchester City's lack of adequate backup has meant Haaland plays when he probably shouldn't, continues when he probably couldn't if there were alternatives. Without a proper deputy, Guardiola has little choice but to run his goal machine into the ground. The result? A player whose output remains high by mortal standards but low by his own extraordinary benchmarks. When you're expected to be superhuman, being merely excellent feels like failure. If there's a poster child for how time catches everyone, it's Virgil van Dijk. About to turn 35, still playing nearly every minute for Liverpool, still captaining the side, still supposedly indispensable. But the performances tell a different story. His flaws are being exposed with regularity now. He's already conceded 4 penalties this season, as many as he gave away in his first 8 years at Liverpool combined. Critics point to how often he stands off opponents nowadays, how his diminished pace has reduced his ability to snuff out danger early. The 4-0 FA Cup defeat to Manchester City was particularly damning, with Van Dijk culpable for multiple goals. At 34, he should be carefully managed, his minutes monitored, his recovery prioritised. Instead, he's still starting nearly everything because Liverpool, despite knowing they needed defensive reinforcement, failed to land Marc Guehi in the summer. Then Giovanni Leone tore his ACL on debut, removing another option before the season barely began. The result has been a defensive legend, forced to play through a natural decline that any 34-year-old would experience, only without the support system to make that decline gradual and managed. The pattern across all these cases is unmistakable. Elite players pushed beyond sustainable limits by clubs who need them too much, competitions that demand too many games, and squads built too thin to provide meaningful rest. Football's calendar has become a meat grinder, and these 7 are among its latest casualties. The question isn't whether this will continue, it's how many more talents will watch break before anything meaningfully changes. Do you know any other players who belong on this list? Let us know in the comments. Remember to leave a like on the video if you enjoyed it and subscribe to the channel. Also, be sure to turn on post notifications so that you never miss out on any new videos. See you next time. Bye.